Hey, it's Frank here with 4D Honeybee, doing something a little bit different today. It is late August, and I realized I put out a video a couple of weeks ago about the 5 things you need to do in August. And then I realized I ain't doing them. Well, I wasn't doing all of them. So I decided to stick to my own covenants and make sure that I'm doing all the 5 things that I needed to do. And the last thing that I need to do is plan my feeding for my hive. So I picked up the phone and called up my supplier for pollen. And it wasn't the nicest experience. They said they didn't have any pollen patties and I shouldn't be feeding them pollen patties at this point anyway. And I couldn't say that I agreed with them, not because there isn't plenty of pollen out there. Right now in southern Ontario, there's a lot of resources for these bees. They've got pollen, tons of nectar coming in, and there's a real flow from here into mid to late September, right? But I'm talking about bee nutrition, right? I want to be able to feed my bees something that I know will give them a lot of nutrients and give them both the carbohydrates and the sugars that they need. So I decided to make my own pollen patties, my own food patties, not just pollen, but it's pollen based. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make some food for my bees, and I'm going to test the recipe out and see if they like it, if they feed it. I know it's going to be nutritious for them, so if they can eat it, if it lasts, if it doesn't spoil, if it doesn't mold, then we're in business with 4D Honeybee. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I've done probably about a month's research on this. I started kind of, just watching other beekeepers' videos, and then I did some research on bee nutrition and what they need. And really what it all boiled down to as a base for the average beekeeper, right? So, a guy that isn't a professional, isn't doing it for a living. It all starts off with a pollen substitute. So you have to research around and find which pollen substitute provides the most nutrients, most carbohydrates, and the healthiest food for your bees. So I went with Feed Bee. This is a 2-pound bag of Feed Bee. And that's what I'm going to try it out with. And they make much bigger quantities of this, probably industrial quantities of this. But I'm going to start with this as my base protein and my base pollen supplement or pollen replacement that I know is going to have a ton of nutrients for the bees. And then I'm going to add in their own honey. So I'm going to add twice the amount of honey that I'm using for pollen so that they get both carbohydrates and the sugars that they need. Then I'm going to add in a little bit of Honey Bee Healthy. So this is just it's a combination of oils and ingredients that bees enjoy eating. So this Honey Bee Healthy is sucrose, which is sugar, water, spearmint oil, lemongrass oil, and lecithin. So lecithin, I don't know what that is. So just stuff that attracts bees. Lemongrass attracts bees. They say it gives the same scent or pheromone as a queen. They love spearmint. And so adding a little bit of this should make it a little more tasty. And I am going to add a little bit of sugar as well. And just your plain old table granulated sugar is fine for bees. It's better than if you get like the cane sugar or specialized sugars like that. This refined sugar is very good for them. I'm going to measure it all out to a proportion that I've taken from looking at other recipes for bee pollen. And then I'm going to feed it to my bees. I'm just going to make a small batch, feed it to my bees in a small quantity, see how they react to it, see how they take it. And then if it works, I will make bigger batches of it, and that's what I feed. I'll feed them. I am going to feed them this basically as soon as I get it ready, so I'll probably put it in their hives next week just to see how they're doing. Then when I go to do my mite treatments, if they haven't finished it, I'll remove it and then feed them again before going into winter. In winter, if they're liking this, I'm going to feed them part of my pollen patty substitute, which I need to get a name for. And you guys are great at that, so maybe you can help me with that. And I will also do sugar candy that I feed them over winter. So let's mix this stuff up. Let's see how it plays out. And here we go. So we're going to mix in a 2-to-1 ratio by weight of honey. And I'm thinking that this will be about 2 pounds. So let's see. Hey Google, what is 1/2 of 1 pound 9.6 ounces?
The answer is 0.8 pounds.
Hey Google, how much is 0.8 pounds in ounces?
0.8 pounds is equivalent to 12.8 ounces. To convert from pounds to ounces, multiply unit of mass by 16.
Okay, so there you go. Google told me how much to do. So this is exactly half of the pollen supplement as compared to the amount of honey I put in there. Mix it in. Now, we'll go with Go with 1 teaspoon of the Honey Bee Healthy. Okay, so it's all in there now. I just came under 2 pounds in honey and did half of that in the pollen substitute. And then I did 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of Honey Bee Healthy. Now we're going to mix this all in and see what kind of consistency we get. Okay, so here you see the consistency that we're left with. It looks like and feels like a solid paste, a hard paste. So see, much harder than peanut butter. I put my finger in, it doesn't stick. I think that's fantastic. That's going to work really well. It's going to be very similar to the consistency that a pollen patty has that you buy from the store. Okay, so we're just going to get ready to spread this on parchment paper. And I really like the consistency. It's kind of hard. And I was concerned that it would be too wet. Now, I did use crystallized honey, which again shouldn't change the moisture content. It should be no different moisture content, crystal to liquid, but I just thought crystallized honey would work better with the consistency, and I'm really happy with this consistency. It's like really hard peanut butter, and it smells really nice. It smells sweet, and you can really smell the Honey Bee Healthy in it. You get this nice pepperminty kind of lemongrass smell. So now I'm just going to use some parchment paper. Cut up some parchment paper to make strips, and I'm going to cut some score. I'm going to score some lines in the parchment paper, and that's it. Bob's your uncle. And I have to make sure that the height is lower than the space I have in between the top of the frames and the inner lid, right? So, score it a little, fold it over, and there is my very first feed patty. I'm not going to call it a pollen patty because it's got a lot more than pollen. So I don't see how the bees could resist this. So hear me out. This has got their own honey. It's got a pollen supplement, which on its own they should readily and happily eat. It's got some added sugar, and it's got Honey Bee Healthy. So this should be something that the bees really like. So hopefully, don't do this yet. Don't make this formula yet. I'll put the formula in at the end of the video, but don't do it until I'm able to put it on the bees and test it and see how much they like or dislike it. See, one thing is it's kind of oozing out of here. So I'll probably put it in the fridge just to solidify it up a little bit so it doesn't. So this just gives you an idea of the consistency that we ended up getting. It's pretty stiff, and that's what you want, because I don't know if you noticed there, as I was packing it into the patties, it was oozing out of the patties. And I think probably what I should have done is let this sit at room temperature for quite a while and stiffen up, because it's still kind of loose from the blending, and it obviously retains a lot of heat when it's blending. So once you cool it down, it probably wouldn't be as runny. So now I've made 2 patties. I'm just going to pack the rest of it in a bag here. I'll probably freeze it because I don't want to put more than 2 patties in right now, because I just want to test and see if the bees are going to eat it. So I'll put the 2 patties in the hive, see how it goes, and then adjust the recipe as I see fit.